13th chord. Yeah, there's the flat 9 chord, 13 flat 9. So that's the diminished thing. But yeah, in many ways, I feel like it's sort of the best thing I've had to offer from, that in some ways I haven't seen it duplicated. I haven't seen it anywhere else. It's the same information, but just the way that it's put together, I haven't seen it anywhere else. So, so much of what we teach and study, there's a lot of different places to get it. It comes in a lot of different forms, but I haven't seen that one. So I'm very proud of that book. Yeah, Blues Rhythms. So I don't have an amp here. I have a guitar, but no one can hear it if I try to play it, but on the road still. And we'll be back, off the road soon, by the beginning of December, and back in Paris. But musical questions, I always like to discuss things that are happening, already in the dojo, or just things that people are thinking about, that we could go into. Anybody?
That's new.
Oh,
Guy looks new.
John Detman, is this your first time with us? John?
You have to unmute.
Oh, unmute.
Unmute.
Unmute. Still can't hear you. No. Okay, take your time. We'll let you know when we can hear you. No. Sorry, man. Too bad.
There's
Okay.
Alberto. We've seen him before. Alberto.
Yeah, Alberto.
Alberto.
Hey, hello guys. Yeah, I'm new here. This is my first time, so nice to meet you.
Fantastic.
Sweet.
Where are
Yeah.
you? Where are you?
Well, I'm from Italy.
Uh-huh.
I live in Sicily. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And-
I've actually recently been to Nashville about 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's been a great trip. I've been to a couple of places in the States and
Mhm.
loved Nashville. So I know you lived there for some years.
5 years.
Yeah. Right. So the platform is great, by the way. The website, I'm loving it.
You mean the dojo?
The dojo, yes.
Fantastic.
So thank you.
Wonderful. How did you hear about it? Just curious.
I've been knowing Robben. I've been following Robben for several years, and so on YouTube, I think I saw the video of you, Robben, talking about it,
Yep.
and I said I gotta definitely subscribe to it. So
Fantastic.
yes.
We're still working on it, trying to get it going,
Mhm.
but it's coming along. Nice to have you.
Yeah.
A lot of guitars back there, man. You have a lot of guitars.
Some guitar here and there, yes. Mhm.
Did you buy any guitars in Nashville?
No, I wish I could, but probably taking it with me back to Italy might have been a little complicated. I don't know. There's probably, I don't know how do you deal with that, by the way?
Well, you just take it. You just check it.
Hmm.
Don't say a word. But
Right.
taking it on board, I always carry it on board, and it's very rare that I run into trouble.
Hmm.
Very rare. But when you do, it's such a drag. My telly, man, it's like, no, you can't have it. No. And they're like, yes. Oh man, it's so painful to go through that with them.
But we just had to buy a seat for the telly.
Yeah, we had to buy a seat to fly from Paris to Reykjavik.
Yeah, I
Fortunately,
guess
they didn't charge me full price. But anyway, I'm not doing it anymore. Like this is it for me. Like once I get back to Paris, I'm just checking it. I'm just whatever I take, I'm going to be checking it and just have a really great flight case. And it'll probably be the PRS, because the PRS I'm really hoping will become the instrument that I'm, that I'm always playing. And
Mhm.
so I think I have a really good flight case that the PRS will fit in. It's like that big red one you have behind you, Alberto.
Yeah, this one.
Is it a Calvin?
No,
Similar.
it's called Eastman.
Okay, but it's very similar. And yeah, I'm just not going to bother anymore. But you
Yeah,
can, if you buy a guitar, it's just your personal item.
yeah, yeah. I'm just afraid when they put it in the what is it called?
Hold.
Stores. Yeah, so afraid of that.
I know, but it's okay. If you have a case like that,
Yeah,
no problem.
you're protected.
Yeah. And then it's, fate after that.
Pray.
Okay. Musical questions of any kind. Stuff we can talk about. Anything on your mind? Let me see if I can pick up on something that the great
Looks
Karnak.
like Joaquin wants to ask something.
You got something, Joaquin?
Yeah, I was thinking about if I was earlier on going through the dojo and the songwriting courses, which are tremendously helpful as well. Thank you for that. But it seems that somehow, and also in the Zoom hangs, you try to emphasis on it sometimes, that you restrict yourself when you start writing. I mean, I recall that there was a session in the dojo that you said the phrase, I wanted to write something with the Phrygian mode. Or if you go to the empty-handed course, I think you started by saying I had 2 chords and it was the worst ever, and then I started building up. So it seems somehow that you cage yourself into something in a very restricted way, and then you start writing and building up on it. Has that been the most effective way for you to writing songs, or through the years?
No, not the most effective, but it is one of the techniques. Like if there is such a thing as a songwriting technique, this is what I have found to be a technique that I use, an approach, a technique, whatever that is. Because you're just sitting there, and you got a guitar, and like in my case, the discipline of songwriting developed because I had to write songs because I had an album to record. So that right there is a restrictive situation. You have to get the job done. So what can I do? And I would, like I wrote a song. We've talked about this again. I do repeat myself here in the dojo, of course, but there's a song called Let Me In. It's the opening track to my album Supernatural. I had been listening to Hendrix, and his song May This Be Love from I think it's his first album. And I wanted to write something like that, right? So this is the thing. It's not that you have to be inspired. You have to inspire yourself, some way. And it can be a very technical, way. And then once you get rolling, then you can bring yourself into it, like, how do I feel about that? What's happened to me in this thing that I've developed here, and so you can bring your own personal feelings and experiences into it. And also, yes, that a technique or box myself in that I'm going to do this. And then that first line, that opening line, it's really helpful if you have something really strong. So from that point of view, I try to find strong words, like empty-handed. I mean, wow, that's strong. It's like, wow, you got nothing, or like what's the song called? All Over Again with Renegade Creation, you know, like raindrops like hammers hit the ground, you know, boom, like there's energy or a mood like immediately established. So you don't have to go too far before you're like, you know, you resonate with your own words, you know, because they're strong words. They get your attention, you know. So technique or a discipline, you discipline yourself in some way. You're not just waiting for inspiration to strike, because it'll never happen. If it does happen, you weren't even thinking about it. It's like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit down necessarily and be inspired, you know. Or playing a couple of chords, you know, like empty-handed, you know. It's like just the simplest of chords. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, you know. Not writing giant steps here, you know. Just, all right, let's just do this for a minute and see, you know, where it takes you. Yeah. Did you, are you familiar? Have we talked about that Jimmy Webb book, Tunesmith? Anybody out there who's interested in writing songs, get the Jimmy Webb book, Tunesmith. Yeah. Walter, did you get it?
Tunesmith.
I have the book. I read it and I got it from you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah. Did you find, like, you know, I read the first third of the book.
Yeah.
And then he's talking about how he writes songs, and he writes a song in the book, right? And he goes through the whole process. And then the last third, he talks about professionalism, you know, what it is to be in the business of music, right? Those are the three parts of the book. I read the first part, I skipped the songwriting part, and I read the last part.
Ah,
Because I can't write songs like Jimmy Webb, you know?
it's true. You have to be yourself.
Yeah. And find your own way. And the reason I even brought this up is because he says at one point in there, basically all songwriters just found their own way to work their ass off, you know? And he talks about, he says one guy, you know, he says he just sits in front of a boom box. You know, they write tracks, chords, bass lines, drums, no melody, no lyric. And then he sits down in front of a boombox and just goes, Dolce Vita. I'm looking at Dolce Vita up here. But he just jams, you know, until words start to become sentences.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's talking about Aerosmith and Steve Perry. Because I had when I read the book, like just a little before that, I had seen something about Steve Perry and how he, you know, Aerosmith songs developed. And this is what he said. He said, I just sit in front of a jam box and I just go like this, you know. And then I read this, you know, Jimmy Webb doesn't use names, but he says, I know a guy who does this, you know. But you have to invest yourself and put your energy into it, you know. And then eventually you do find your own way. And you know, that other the Outliers, that book where the guy, he says you have to put in 10,000 hours before you can start doing anything well. So as I always say, you have to write shitty songs for 10 years. But the first song that the dude in the Doors, Light My Fire, that was the first song that guy ever wrote. So,
Well,
right. So, you know, there's no law really. There are patterns, and there are, you know, but anyone can break the pattern.
sometimes I start with the lyrics and I have the idea for the lyrics and I'm looking for the melody. That's hard.
Mhm.
And so I got the chords and the melody, but no lyrics.
Mhm.
Looking for the lyrics. That's also hard. And I never know. I found out I have to wait.
Yeah. Well,
Just wait.
if I may address that, you're absolutely right. You have to just wait. You can't force it. But, like, at least for me, once again, a method that I use, I get some kind of musical idea going. And then, Jimmy Webb says you need a title and an idea of what the song is about.
Yeah.
So unless you're writing instrumental music, don't get caught up in that melody, man. It's a trap. Because the lyric, if you're gonna have words, go there. That's that's your job. That's go for the lyric. Number one. More important than anything else. That's
And
how I approach it.
lyrics.
I'm sorry?
Lyrics. The rhythm in the lyrics. I think it's very important.
Sure. Yeah, a feeling. Yeah, a feeling. Rhythm, feeling, yeah.
I have something else. Your riffs, I love these, and I play it, and it's a bit hard. Then I find that I'm doing similar things yet, and I can combine it. And from this moment on, I'm not on your riff, but I'm somewhere else. And
Yeah.
in the end, I do not know anymore where it comes from. It's something new. It brought me to some place where I've never been before.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's my experience. And that's why I love this very little. This is you can't see it. Very short. Just one line.
Uh-huh.
It's the Phrygian mode.
Phrygian?
Phrygian, riff in a Phrygian mode. And it's great. But I wouldn't play it anymore. I found something else.
Yeah. In the Phrygian mode, I hope.
Yeah, in the Phrygian mode. Yeah.
That's the idea.
You
Yeah.
said modes are moods.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit more about that? The mood in the Phrygian mode, how would you describe it? Or in a Dorian mode? I have my ideas, but I'm curious what you say.
Okay. Let me respond to one other question first, okay? And yeah, because we have a gentleman, Lars has his a notification here. We'll come back, Walter, for sure. Because I'm always happy
But I
to
can,
talk about notes.
yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Lars.
can. Hello. Do you hear me? Yeah, you hear
Yeah.
me? Yeah, I got some yeah, connection to what we discuss here, and thinking just about the melody that we were touching now. I've read somewhere that often the melody is based on the third. So if it's a major third or minor third, is that something that you are using melody-wise? Have you ever had that thought in mind?
Well, from what I understand from that, or my first thought about that is really that is I think a reference to whether it's in a major key or a minor key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
go ahead.
yeah, and that the melody, just to tell the quality of the chord and to emphasize the quality of chord, it's often used as the melody tone. So if I'm playing the riff for you and I play an A major and you starting perhaps the melody around the third there, is that but that is not your approach thinking about you?
Not necessarily.
Could be.
It
No,
could
no.
be, but yeah.
Yeah,
All of the tones are available,
Yeah, it is, of course. Yeah. But thinking about to restrict yourself. But I have a bigger question here, which I've been thinking about for a while,
Okay.
and it's connected to the songwriting part here. As an amateur, I hear something in my head. I play the chords. I start to do recording, and I do have a band, but it's most often I play it myself.
Mhm.
And the point here, when it comes out from the recording, you know, I got drums and I play some basses, etc.
Yep.
It doesn't sound what I have in my head, and that takes me, because I was at a great concert with Derek Trax and his band, and
Yep.
they could arrange the song to start very, very slow, or not, yes, slow, but how do you say it in English? Just a guitar. At the end of the day, it was massive. And do you understand my question? How do you think? How should one think about arrangement? Or how do you think about arrangement? That is the questions, if I should
Okay.
boil it down.
Okay.
Because I guess that you're playing you find out the song sitting on the couch. I read somewhere with your acoustic, but then you come to the studio. Now it comes, yeah. How do you make it big at the end, so to speak? Maybe it's a big question. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Because really you're talking about the creative process, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah. And all of that, you know, I have to say that, you know, I feel my way through everything, you know. And it's just it's a reaction. You know, you can start with something and it's like, no, that's not it. It's more like that. Not that,
Okay.
not that, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of a deconstructive approach, you know. Whatever it is, if it's not giving the feeling that you're looking for, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Because people, I see it all the time, you know. People just they'll start to play, and it's all out of habit, and it has nothing to do with the relationship with the other things that are going on, you know.
Exactly.
And drums, you know, as the primary bottom line, unless you're not using them, which is cool too. But you know, if a drummer is going boom bap boom bap, that's covered. You don't need to hit boom or bap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a space there in between those things, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see. Yeah.
And a space all around it, you know. So that's in a technical way. I definitely work that way. If somebody's playing it, don't play it. It's done. It's taken care of. So it's sort of like chamber music, you know, like a string quartet. Everybody's playing, you know, Bach, I think, is the one who originated the that notion. I can't remember the name for it. Somebody may know, but it's 4 instruments, you know, like a viola, a cello, viola, 2 violins, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not counterpoint, but anyway, everybody's playing something different at all times, you know. They cross, you know, and they go past each other. So they will hit the same thing for a second, you know, and then it moves, you know. So this is the way I view a rhythm section. And so this is where you can, you know, get creative. It's telling you already what not to do.
Okay, that's how you approach it. Okay.
Yeah. Don't do that because it's done, you know, so it helps. So, okay, I don't have 4 beats to play and I only have 2. Okay. So maybe 1 long chord or maybe 2 things like this or decca decca, you know, or da 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 da. You know, you have all the rhythms, you know, that you can use. So that kind of approach is what I take. And I think this has something to do with it. And it's like, what is this song? Is it a dramatic song? You know, is it an edgy song? You know, then you do something dramatic or edgy, you know, and that's not too hard to come up with, you know. I mean, edgy is another word for almost irritating, you know. So do something irritating, you know. Man, I did this recording with Joni Mitchell years ago. It's the Hissing of Summer Lawns album. And there's a song on there called Harry's House. if y'all haven't heard Joni Mitchell's, you know, that album, if you're interested in, I mean, songwriting, she's always on another level. So I never think of her as an inspiration because there's just no way. It's like, it's just too heavy, you know, to be an inspiration, you know. It's so, but anyway, I was very young, you know, I really wasn't very good, I would say, in the studio. I didn't really quite know how to work, you know, in the studio. And I can't even believe, honestly, I feel like, I don't know why they let me be there. Surely they could have gotten somebody better. But Harry's House, because I was, you know, I didn't have much to say in playing, you know, I found myself just doing these kind of high notes at this certain point with a volume pedal, you know. And the song is so painful that it's like, that actually worked, you know, because it was so irritating. It's like, shut that guy up. That's how I, you know?
Okay.
but it actually, it penetrates, you know. It's just a little story, you know. It's certainly not any kind of encouragement or advice, you know, but it could be, you know.
Yeah.
So you're going for a
I will,
feeling. It's a
yeah.
feeling.
I will
Always.
take a yeah. I will take a listen here and see if I should consider this as a hook. Is that how I should think, perhaps, about this irritating part? Is that what I will remember when I leave the song?
I hope not.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks you very much for exploring, because this is hard for me, you know. I
Yeah,
hear something in the head, but it does not come out that way, and I get disappointed, and then the
yeah,
creative process reduces. But it
yeah,
depends on your musicians that you have, of course, as well. I only have myself, and I'm not good
yeah.
at everything.
No, I know what you're talking about. But also, you know, if indeed you're writing songs with lyrics, you know, if
Yeah.
that's what's going on, the lyrics, the thing, everything else is a demo.
Okay.
I used to
Okay.
write demos all the time. I went through a period, you know, and I've got the
Yeah.
bass and I've got the chords and I've got a nice synthesizer sound and I've got a melody, no song. You
Okay.
gotta get the song, man. You gotta go with the
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
then and then you're like because you're saying something already, you know, like, okay, what is that saying and what is that feeling? Then you can move out from there, you know, because it's sad, you know, or it's
Yeah.
angry or it's happy, and it's like you have an emotion. Okay, now I can, you know, or angry, you know, or
Yeah. Yeah.
relaxed, or, you know, because you're talking about something. So the Jimmy Webb thing, you know, you have a title for the song and an idea of what the song is about.
Yep.
And then he says, both of those things can change. And I know that experience too, you know, like it started one thing and it's like, oh, I find myself over here. But if you don't have you know, like a phrase, you know, and an idea of where you're going, you won't have a song, you know.
No, thank you for that. Can I ask one more question regarding what we discussed in the last dojo regarding this 6-month membership and what you're planning?
I'll let Kelly take that.
It's
Okay.
it's all active.
Has-
I don't know if you saw the newsletter, but it's active. Have you been in the dojo for 6 months?
Yeah, I've been since the start, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Sorry, we're trying to.
Yeah, no, you don't have to remember me. Yes,
Yeah,
but
no,
yes, I've been there. I'm thinking.
and I'm seeing your name now, and I'm remembering. So yes, just write me at kelly@robbenford.com, and then we'll arrange it. In fact, Paul at the bottom. Hi, Paul. Paul at the bottom there. He's just requested one.
Yeah.
So we'll be arranging one for him shortly. So yeah, just email, and then we're just quite busy, so just be patient in terms of
I understand. Yeah.
of
Because
the,
I've sent you mail there already, but should I use, because I responded on the mail that you sent to me, should I
yeah,
use another mail?
yeah, no, it's just we've been
Yeah.
so busy here in Iceland, this just
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So it's
so
on the way, so to speak,
it's
or you
on the
will
way,
read
yeah,
first.
don't worry, we won't, I
For
won't,
sure.
I won't
Thank you.
forget you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because then I would like to discuss this topic and root playing, because that is a big part of when you're saying I don't
Yeah.
play bank dunk, but I play in between, right? And
Yeah.
that is part of the root play. I'm thinking that I would like to look into then in that
Yeah.
that
Cool.
discussion, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, great,
Yeah.
I think,
Thank
Paul,
you.
did you have something? You're welcome.
yeah, yeah.
Did you have something, Paul? Can't hear you.
Can you unmute? There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
This book's just come out. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called The Philosophy of Modern Song by Bob Dylan.
It's by Bob Dylan?
Yeah, he goes through about 50 songs from the whole history of popular music, from like 50s songs through
Wow.
to punk rock to modern times. And he does like a breakdown of why he thinks this song is worthy of mention in his book. So anybody who's interested. Just
I'm
come out,
good.
the philosophy of modern song.
Well, thank you for that. Wow.
That's okay.
What do you think of it?
To be honest, I've only just got it, but it looks very interesting. He goes into the social context, what the song's about.
Wow.
It looks fascinating. I think he's got things like My Generation by The Who and then Volare and stuff like that. So it's a typical Bob Dylan, you know, the range of the guy's knowledge is huge.
This is fantastic. I've always had very mixed feelings about, not always. I mean, I was listening to Dylan when he was doing it as a kid, you know, and loved it. I was way into Dylan for a long time just because I liked it. You know, I wasn't exactly learning anything other than I would play some of the songs, but you know, he wrote so many songs that the words are just nonsense. They really are. They're just nonsense. And he's admitted it. But you know, I've always wondered, you know, like what's the real connection here with him and songwriting, because he's written such weird things and such brilliant things and like, wow, all over the place. So this is great. I'm very excited about this, man. That's really cool.
How's your house building? He's moving to France. He lives in London. He's moving to France. He's been building a house
Right on.
in the Loire Valley. How's it going?
It's going very slowly. I hope to get there before I die, but that's that would be great. We couldn't afford to get anywhere in the UK. It's just house prices are too expensive. We live in a flat and we wanted to get something a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's beautiful out there, and you can get some really lovely. We've got a really lovely place, we think, but it's going to take a lot of work. But we love France. We love being there, and we think it's going to be sort of the dream come true once we get it together.
Marvelous. Have you read the book A Year in Provence?
I haven't read that one. No, I have to do that.
It's written by a Brit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and his wife go down to Provence and they buy a place and they renovate the place, and he talks about that whole experience.
Yeah, we had a rather unpleasant estate agent to deal with who happened to be English, and he said he'd got an inquiry from a TV company saying, would we like to be interested in a program called My Dream Wreck? And we politely declined the idea of being all over TV doing something like that.
You surely did the right thing.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
Okay, I want to respond to Walter's question about the mode thing. Right, Walter? Yeah, okay. So he was talking about, well, I mean, the question was regarding, I guess, can you rephrase the question? Walter?
Yeah, you said modes are like moods.
Yes.
And the Dorian mode sounds different to French mode. And how would you describe these moods in the modes?
Mhm.
About that. When do you use Phrygian mode, for instance?
Well, that's the thing. I never used the Phrygian mode. So I went, oh, write a song in the Phrygian mode. It was an exercise. It might have come to nothing, you know, because I've never written a song in the Phrygian mode before. So I mean, I've used it a little, but just for moments, you know, because it's hard. You know, you're rearranging the way you approach exactly the same notes. So it's like saying, it's like starting the alphabet with the letter B. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, you know, it's like, that's hard, you know? You know what I'm saying? That's what the modes can be like. And that's why the Phrygian mode for me was like that. Like, oh boy, you know? It's like doing the diminished scale, you know, starting with a whole step. I'd never done it before. So I started practicing it, you know? And I'm sorry, John, we can hear your guitar. So at least we can finally hear you. Yeah. So let me answer this question.
Sorry.
Let me answer this question and we'll come back to you, okay? Right on. So I used it as a way to practice the Phrygian mode because I was unfamiliar with how to use the Phrygian mode. And and I told myself I'm not going to use anything outside the Phrygian. I'm going to write a song in the Phrygian mode and I'm not going to use any chords outside of the Phrygian, you know. And I broke that at one place because I needed it to further the song. So it's Sentimental Mode from the record with Bill Evans, Common Ground. There's a song's called Sentimental Mode. So the assignment is write a song in the Phrygian mode. This is great. See, you don't have to wait for anything. Just start playing notes and chords out of the Phrygian mode, which is just the white keys of the piano starting on the 3rd degree. It's just the alphabet starting on C, same letters, you know, same combination of notes, you know, and letters. So if you are you familiar, Walter, with that album, the Bill Evans record, Me and Bill Evans? Yeah. Okay. So Sentimental Mode. So I also went, okay, it's still me. I'm still a blues guitar player. Don't try to suddenly become Alan Holdsworth, you know? Okay, so I played a rhythm and blues thing. I'm just playing rhythm and blues, you know? I'm waiting for Etta James to come in, but it's Phrygian mode. So it was an exercise, and it actually is, I mean, of all the songs I've ever written, I think it might be my favorite instrumental that I've ever written. So it comes to you. Give yourself an assignment. I'm going to write a song about a dog. Anything, you know? And do the work as opposed to wait for the inspiration. This is good advice.
Dog, I would, the Phrygian mode, I would then write a song about a poor, sad dog. Phrygian mode for me is tension in a way, or sadness. Or,
yeah. It's also, I believe it's Spanish, is it not? Do we have any Spaniards in the house? It's kind of a Spanish mode, right?
You know, the Allman Brothers play Into the Mystic, Van Morrison's Into the Mystic, with Derek Trucks and Ron Haynes. And in the end, they have a long improvisation part, and this part is in the Phrygian mode.
Uh-huh. Right on.
F sharp Phrygian. And we cover these songs, and I love this solo because it's foggy and mystic, and I think the Phrygian mode is just the mode it has to be.
Uh-huh. Right on. So F sharp Phrygian would be B minor.
Yeah, and it changes to E Lydian and to E Dorian. It's always
It moves.
the same scale.
Yeah, okay.
Once
Okay.
Phrygian,
Yeah.
it changes through the modes.
Yeah. That's great. It's nice to hear, people who, when you understand the modes, it's really quite simple.
It's simple. My band doesn't. I'm in a rock band. We played 50 years together, and now we are old men. And we say, okay, let's try it again.
Let's
And
try it again. Okay, one more time. We're gonna get it.
I have my rock band and my jazz guys, and for the rock band I write lyrics, and for the others I write melodies, and so I'm quite busy.
Right on.
Okay,
Let me ask John Detman. Did you have a question, John? We got you now.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? No, not particularly. I asked a question a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know how much time you've got, but a couple of things came up. A short question.
Yeah.
In a podcast, I heard you say, this is just out of interest, you said you were telling the story of how you saw Hendrix years ago, and it was one of the most exciting things you'd ever seen. In fact, your quote was, in my top 5 most exciting things I'd seen. What are the other 4?
Oh, what are the other 4?
Yeah.
Okay. B.B. King. The first time I saw B.B. King. Mike Bloomfield and the Electric Flag.
Yeah.
And that night, the bands, it was James Cotton Blues Band with Luther Tucker on guitar and Alberto Gianguento on piano. Man, that was just a crazy great band. And Paul Butterfield Blues Band. So all 3 in one night, So
And that was in San Francisco, was it?
Yeah, all these were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
No, that's not all of them. Okay, so there was the Bloomfield, which was James Cotton and Butterfield all together. B.B. King, Hendrix, Keith Jarrett, his quartet with Dewey Redman, Charlie Hayden, and Paul Motion. That band, for me, I compare it to like Coltrane's quartet, with McCoy Tyner, Elvin Jones, and Jimmy Garrison, and also Miles Davis's quintet with Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, Tony Williams, and Ron Carter. My God, how do you have a band like that, So that's 4. And the 5th one is the first time I saw Miles Davis play. And both of those shows, Miles Davis, it was in San Francisco, but it was in a jazz club on North Beach, which was a very famous jazz club in San Francisco. I mean, everybody played there. Duke Ellington Orchestra played there, and it probably seated 210 people. And so this was Miles's band. Keith Jarrett was the keyboard player. And it's the band that is like Live Evil. So it's Keith Jarrett. I can never remember that bass player's name. Jack DeJohnette on drums, Ayrto playing percussion, Gary Bartz on the alto. It was right after, both Keith Jarrett and Chick Corea were in the band, and then Chick Corea left, and that's when I saw him. So it would have been 72 or 73, I think.
Wow.
So those are the 5.
That's it. Yeah, I've often wondered that, because I just heard you say that in the podcast, and I thought, what the hell is,
Yeah.
So the Hendrix would have been amazing. And just the other question I had, I think from the same podcast, the guy was asking you about playing with Miles.
Mhm.
And you said, I don't know who the keyboard player was, but you said, oh, the keyboard player was doing this thing, these 4 chords. And you said, what was that? And he said, oh, it's just this thing that Miles showed me to do. It's like to play. It was like a platform for him to play.
Harmonic device.
Yeah, harmonic, that's exactly the term. What was it?
Okay, you have your guitar in your hand, right?
Oh, no. Okay.
No. You don't have to do, don't worry.
Ask somebody else who can play better than me. Anyway,
It's not,
go on.
not about playing, because
Okay.
there's nothing to it. So
Sure.
anybody who wants to do this, so you know how the open D, G, and B strings, right?
Yep.
Okay, so play them up an octave above at the 12th fret. You got it?
Yeah, I think so.
E, G, B, up there. And then keep the high B where it is. And then just drop the 2 notes below, both of them down a half step. Right?
That it?
So, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that better? Oh, Kelly's going to grab my guitar so I can assist in this. So, yeah. And then you move that down a whole step and do the same thing again. Triad, and then keep the high one and drop the 2 down. The 2 lower ones down a half step.
Or keep that, you keep that high B or not?
No, you're now you're an A. So it's like this. I use my little finger.
Yeah.
Like that, and then, right?
Yeah.
So you're down just a half step below the 12th fret, right? Here.
Yeah.
So it's triad, and then that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are fourths here, right?
Yeah.
Da, da, dee. Okay, so that and that. Now what you do is follow the pentatonic scale down as if you were in the key of E. So you're going to go da, da, down a whole step, da, da, down a whole step, da, da, down a minor third to E, da, da. So B, da, 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 pentatonic scale, right? Da, 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 da. If you keep going, da, da, da. That's where you have to know how to play these things across the guitar, right?
Right.
Cool. And just pentatonic scale. Yeah, you're in the key of E.
Yeah.
Dee da da do da 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 do do. So you have that minor. It's E minor. It's just E minor 7.
Right.
Then you drop.
And you just play it, and you go around on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
B da 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 da. Right? You can move it any way you want. Da da. Da da. You could play the triads alone,
Yeah.
like that. So this is the harmonic device. And I thought oh, this must be a 12-tone thing. You know, like all of the 12 tones must be in there. But they're not. I sat down, I went through it, and there's a couple of notes missing where you never play this note or that note. Even doing that, it just seems like that should do it. Because of the fourths. And in fact, because you are playing fourths right here, you know, fourths. Okay, if you've got fourths, you can play all of the fourths. So that opens it up. That opens it up to a 12-tone world. But you don't play all the 12 tones when you play this, you know, this thing here. There's one or two missing. But if you play fourths once, you got all of them. And I think that's what opens it up, you know, because of you're playing fourths, you got all of them. That's how I think. That's what opened me up, you know, to an entirely 12-tone picture. You know, there's no wrong note, you know. Miles Davis said this to me at the very second show that I played with him. And he came and he was telling me to learn something, you know. And of course the way he talked, it was just so weird, you know. I figured out what he probably meant. But it didn't sound like that, you know, when he said it. But he made reference, you know, he goes, you know, something about, you know, and if you hit a wrong note, you know, and he goes, and there ain't a lot of them. You know, there aren't a lot of wrong notes, man, you know. Yeah. And in fact, there are none. But there are, you know, if it doesn't sound good to the ear, you know. Yeah. And the way the whole 12-tone thing works is, you know, you've got, you know, a low E here. And if you play that high, the F up here, which is a half step away, you know, it doesn't sound like, you know, because it's way up here. It's okay, you know. Okay. You can kind of accept it because it's not clashing, because it's way up here, you know, away from it. So it becomes like clouds and stars in the sky and wind, you know. It's just, you know, it's all here, you know. There's fire, there's water, you know. They fight each other when improperly, you know, when they're not put together right, but otherwise, you know, you boil your coffee in the morning, you know. So it becomes this big picture, you know. And that's what 12-tone does. It creates the big picture, you know. And there's no wrong note unless there is. You know, you can cause tension, you know, friction, you know, and sometimes you want it. You know, I will do that sometimes when I'm playing. I'll just go, I'm smashing this thing right here, right now, you know. So and that's freedom, you know, that really, you know, it doesn't come from, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't come from being necessarily a great guitar player or something, you know. It's just the big picture. It's just getting the big picture, you know. And then that's why, you know, what was his name? Jackson Pollock. That's why he can just splatter paint on canvas. He doesn't care. It's energy, you know, and color and you know, it's all very quick. All that shit happened very quickly. I see his paintings and I think they're crap. Jackson Pollock. And then there's one, okay, look, that's cool, you know, but we don't have to accept Jackson Pollock as a fucking genius. Just a dude, you know, splattering paint, you know, but he had the balls to do it.
People must think it's good. We've got one of his paintings in our opera house. I think we we paid 80 million for it. And,
right.
Now it's worth 400, they reckon. So the same. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's okay. Looks good. Cool.
Yeah,
Blue
well,
poles.
Somebody's willing to pay it, you know. I'm sorry, I have to check back quickly with Lars here. He's got his hand up again.
Yes, I was stuck here in the Phrygian discussion again.
Okay.
I always come back to that because is it, and actually, why is it the Phrygian? Okay, I know the scales and I know the modes if we start there, so you know what I know, so to speak. I do
Yeah.
understand, but if we take it in the C major, and we talk
Yeah.
about the Phrygian and the E
Yep.
minor, right?
Yep.
And then then you're saying we are playing all the chords in the Phrygian. That is basically C major, D minor, E minor, etc.
That's it.
Why does it become a Phrygian song then? Because is it so that the Phrygian is number one? You consider it. The G7 is the fourth chord, and the B is the fifth chord. Is that how you see it, or is it because we're starting the song in E minor and you chose to use D minor and C minor? This is my big thing that I do not really understand. For me, it's a C major song, or a D Dorian song, or a G7 song,
Or an E Phrygian song.
or an E Phrygian song. Exactly.
Same
Why
thing.
is it yes, exactly. But why is it now, in this case, a song in Phrygian?
Because that's your root.
Okay, the first chord, that's what you mean.
Well, it wouldn't have to be the first chord, you know, but it's where boom,
Okay,
just like a blues or anything else, you know. That's the key.
okay.
That's
It's
the key. But you
okay.
are
It's
right. You're absolutely right. And I love
Yeah.
to say this, no one says, okay, blues in C, Mixolydian mode. No, you
No,
say blues in G, and everybody knows.
exactly,
But you're in C.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's my hard thing in my head, I
Just
don't
let it
really.
go, man. Just let it go. Don't
Okay,
think about
okay, thank you.
it. You're
Thank you.
welcome. Yeah, Paul.
Just the over that Miles Davis sequence, what would you use to improvise then over that sequence?
No wrong notes, right?
Okay.
But I would treat it like fundamentally as kind of like an E raised 9 chord or E minor. E minor would probably be the base case. Blues, E minor blues, E minor pentatonic, with that as your chordal, potentiality. Yeah. And, like for me, it's all, as I like to say once again, like I feel like I know 4 things. I know the diatonic scale, which I know the pentatonic scale. I know the diminished scale, and that's about it. Then the 4th one is just whatever you want to play. The freedom thing. Anything goes. So if it's E minor, then it's going to be D major scale, right? It would be like a modal thing if you looked at it that way. But yeah, once you introduce a concept like this is where, okay, we're in a very free situation, when you introduce something like this, there is no scale, there's a root, and there's a bass line, and it's funk, in Miles Davis's case, it's funk, kind of rock, funk, blues, So that's what's, again, for me, I'm a blues guitar player. So, I'll use this stuff, sparingly, in a blues, I'll just boom, bop, bop, da, da, dum. And now we're right back, from E to A7, So this is how I use it, Michael Brecker, different story. He's going to have way more to say, So I'm more interested in playing blues and grooves and, you know, like a melody and like that. All right, I think that's it for today, everyone. And thank you so much for coming. We always worry that we're, you know, like we're in a bad time zone, you know, on this time of the Eastern Hemisphere, right?
No, this is Southern.
Well,
Yeah, we have to figure this out. We have,
no, it's the Eastern Hemisphere, East
Well,
and West, right?
we're trying to accommodate the Australians on this Zoom. So is it Eastern or Southern Hemisphere, guys?
Well, they're in the Southern Hemisphere, but time zone goes like this, doesn't it? Straight up. Yeah, goes like that. It doesn't go like this.
Let's ask Michael. Michael, what do you, being in Australia? And also, Diego, are you, wait, who else is in Australia? Oh, yeah, John.
Diego?
Right, John.
Are you in
Yep,
Australia?
Australia.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
So the three of you guys, is it the Southern Hemisphere or is it the Eastern Hemisphere?
That's Southern Hemisphere.
Southern.
You're
I was right.
no. You are in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah,
That's right.
But time goes east to west.
yeah, that's true. But we're still in the Southern Hemisphere. I think Kelly's point was that you're doing it at this time to accommodate people in the Southern Hemisphere.
Exactly.
Yes,
But time goes east to west, but to accommodate the Southern Hemisphere.
but we could also be accommodating Japan, China,
Yes.
Thailand
Yep.
in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yep.
I think you're both right.
So we could say,
I'm more right.
we could say in the Northern, wait, what is it? Eastern
Hemisphere.
Eastern and Southern Hemispheres. Then we'll be more correct. Oh, well, anyway,
All right.
great to see everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Take care.
Thank you.
See you next time.
see you in a couple of weeks or next week, whenever.
Whoever can
Next
show up.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right,
See you.
have a good
Bye.
one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Should I hit that?
Just go out.
Okay.